We're chuckling because there's so many tangents. We've been off on a few already, so we're going to start with what you're hitting and the person holding it. Then we're going to go on to this bit. So you reverse punch in a front stance. I say it's weak. If somebody hits me and holding that, I know it's weak. Lots of top masters and grandmasters have done this because now they're doing the waveform, they're doing double hit, they're doing all kinds of stuff. But if you're in a static stance, it ain't so clever. If you flick the hip, you're going to get a bit out of it. It's not mechanics. If it was, boxers would be doing this stuff. Anyway, another tangent. I'm going to stop that. Stop the tangents. So what you've got is a hard pad for a couple of reasons. One, so when you hit it, it don't buckle. If it's soft, you can do your wrist. If you're really getting a good, powerful hit, it's all going through your wrist into the other guy. So if that's slightly off centre, it ain't clever because it hurts and it takes a while to heal, as we know. So you want something solid and you want to make sure you've got your 90 degrees perpendicular stuff in play. Okay, you want this against the guy's body so he can feel it, so he can give you some feedback. You don't want his arms in the way. Again, that will wobble the target as you strike it and damage your wrist. We don't want any of that. So we want that nice and solid. The guy holding it, you don't want to hit too high up, else they'd be going out the window. So you don't want it too high above the centre of gravity. So you want something so he's got a little bit of resistance to it. Don't have too much of a stance, because if it is going in, he's got nothing to move back. So you want him so, if you do a proper hit, he's going to move back. Common sense, all good. Right, so you want that like that. So maybe a little bit more of a stance for us. Right, so that's all good, not a problem. Now, Steve's got tons of energy. I've got a lot more because I've been doing some development of the meridians and stuff. So maybe for a lot of these experiments, it will be like he's a normal bloke and we'll get the right results. Some of the experiments, we're going to have to pretend that he's a normal bloke. Okay, so that thing, your weapon. If you make a normal karate fist, you're shorting out yin and yang, which will make you weak. You're shorting out fire and metal meridians, which is the destructive cycle, elemental destructive cycle, which will make you weak. So if we try that with Steve, let go Steve, stick it on that, kinesiology, you see if this is strong, then he makes a fist, and then you check, and it's still strong with Steve because we do the 6 element work. But normally you can test that, that'll make you weak. Then if we open the hand, we try again. Once you get the energy in the meridians, when you make a fist, it will not make you weak, it will make you stronger, but it will also, and maybe this will actually work, make your opponent weaker. Yes, it did, because I've got more energy in the meridians than Steve, so my energy field's stronger. So if you've got an energy field that your opponent hasn't got, he will appear weaker. If your energy field is stronger, he will appear weaker. I've been looking into a lot of the Okinawan and some schools. It took me a while to find this out, make a fist like this. You got about 7 seconds before that goes back to being useless and it's energized. So you've got an energy field he hasn't got. So when you hit the abs, like the arm, it'll go weak, so it'll go in. So that's your tool sorted out, unless you do different types of fist, cotton fist, and all kinds of stuff. If you want to disrupt this area, you can drop this and strike, as we all know as a technique, or you can pull this back and strike. This will help disrupt this area, and it's the pancreas that gets disrupted. If you do the 6 element kata like we do, we test. This is strong, I'll try and disrupt, and it's actually stronger. So if somebody's trying this on you, will actually make you stronger. So a lot of the things that make you weak, if you are energized with the 6 elements, or you've taken all the negative energies out of the body and took it back to factory settings, they will make you stronger. Okay, so a little bit of a tangent, but we've got something to hit it with. So let's load up. Okay, so your stance. Body misalignment. So you can do with the kinesiology like I've just shown you. If you look over there and misalign your body, it'll go weak. Turn your foot, it'll go weak. If you're off balance, it'll go weak. So that's body misalignment theory. So your front stance and punching here, if you go anywhere you set near your centre line, which you should do, because you don't want to be punching the guy in the shoulder, you want to punch him in the solar plexus. So not only have you got yin yang here, you've got yin yang here, body misalignment here, so it's a weak stance. If you know how to root and make yourself heavier, basically you're kicking out an energy field, then that will give you an advantage. It's very difficult to root in a front stance unless you do the 6 elements, etc. Now, why on earth would, many years ago, presumably Okinawa, they're using these stances if, as I've discovered and many other grandmasters and masters have discovered, it's weak. Well, I reckon it's because of all the rubbish energy around us. So if we go back a couple of thousand years and we pop onto that island after a bit of paddling, maybe the stances take on a different effect. And what I've found is your stances will bring up energy in an elemental fashion. And a front stance is metal. Long, large intestine, metal meridians. So you could say, we've got an iron fist with your front stance. We've gone off too many tangents yet. No, we're still on stance, we're still on. So it goes from a weak stance to you can root to it's elemental. Now you shouldn't be stood in a front stance. If you're in a fight, you shouldn't be in a front. I mean, you can maybe step into one. So the movement is momentum, as we all know, F equals ma and all that. So this is more mechanics now, we're moving. But also, if you get the energies right, when you move, you'll send energy that way, directional energy, which will shift you. So that's your stance. You want me to hit him yet? Your ki or your ki hap sound, that can cause disruption. Can weaken the fella. You can use an elemental sound, so you could use the sound associated with metal, so you got triple whammy. And you can use it to send energy whichever direction you want, directional energy. Okay, so let's hit and see what happens. So I'll try and do nothing, don't root, don't do anything. Yeah, I know you were ready, not moving me. But I've got to be nice as well. So we're being as neutral as possible, which is harder than not being, because you should be in mode without having to use your intent. You should be in, I'm ready to rock and roll mode. So I'm taking that off. So we've got a loose stance, no rooting, we got that. He's moving, eh? What a fantastic punch. Now, some of the guys looking at mechanics, to reason why this punch is weak, they say, because you're twisting around your core, this shoulder, 50% of the power goes out that shoulder. Well, I'm thinking, well, that don't make sense, because what's the catapult?
Trebuchet.
Trebuchet. I can't say it right. It's a French, it's catapult. So that's, you drop that, pivot, woof. So the faster you pull this one back, the faster that one goes forward. And what they say is when you use the hip, you are swinging like a door from this, so you've got more. So they're trying to use mechanics on it. But if you do 6 elements, you hold that, it doesn't matter what hip they use, they'll bounce off. To the embarrassment of quite a few. Anyway, so tangent, calm down. So, what do we want to add first? I'm going to root. So if I root, not only do I make this dodgy stance stable, I've got an energy field that Steve hasn't got. So I want to make sure we're going in a little bit. So from there, I'm rooting and he moves. So that's all I've done. Intent, send out an energy field, make myself stable. That's one of them. The other one is, with this chair, because you might end up sitting in it. If you step in, you send directional energies that way. So I want to be here, so I'm just going to go from there, I'm stepping in, and he's going a bit further. And I'm really not punching, it's just technique. We'll punch harder if we need to later. But that'll stop the sledgehammer, so. Has anything gone in yet?
The second to last one did.
Okay, so we've got stuff going in. So what I'll do this time is root and step in. Because once you get the energy right, you can make yourself heavier, you can root on the move, not just static, which is a treat. So I'm going to step in, I'm rooted, stepping in, and there we're getting in a bit further.
Yeah, that went through.
That went through. Okay, so rooting works if you can do it. That'll do it. Now we'll keep going. Right. If you focus on the person, not a lot happens, but you can try this way. No. I'm not going to hit him, but you can try this. So get somebody strong, tighten their hands up, give it a dig or two, and then just look past them as far as you can. So if there's a window, you want to look out the window. If it's too close, it ain't going to work. You want to distance focus and then see the difference. So where you focus makes a difference. If you want me, I can explain that, but that's another tangent. You can do lots of different ways with the eyes to increase the perceived power or the energy or whatever you want to call it. Next one, sound. So if you want to weaken the guy, you can make a sound. There's lots and lots of negative words, negative sounds you can use. So let's go back to me not doing anything, you not rooting, we're getting that. Are you alright with that? Yeah. So I'm just going to use a sound. I think it'll work on Steve because we haven't done the cleansing posture, which we're going to do in a minute. So, zzz.
Oh yeah.
So there's lots of daft sounds, and some people try and explain them through vibration. I know exactly how it works to a fairly good depth, because you want to be able to explain how it works to a depth, so not only can you make it worse, you can stop it happening to you, and that's to do with the energy gates. Once some gates are working, it will stop negative energy getting in, they'll close, and then positive energy, if you're in a good location or you're doing the Qigong, will go in more effectively. Rather than most people, they're stuck half open. So you're vulnerable to somebody nicking your energy or in a location picking up negative energy. That's a tangent in itself. Right, the horror, as we all know and love, chi belly. So, I haven't really tried this, but we'll give it a go. So we're back to normal, don't do nothing which is hard to do. It's my brain's going eating. So we're back to that, so we've got off a step. I'm going to extend the energy from the horror. See, yeah, that works. So that's another energy field that you can develop, which is there. It's got a name, and it does stuff. And that's with the other stuff not in play. No rooting, no moving, no sound, no intent, just sending the horror out. So when you start adding them together, you get more effect. But you've also got to look after the health of the guy holding it, so I should be checking on Steve afterwards, making sure we're not bugging him up. Basic stress reaction, trap nerves in the back. So at least stretch the back if you don't know anything else, and the rest of it. Right, where are we now? Players. So Dragon Society, Dylan Cry International, they've got players to the game as they call them, or building blocks, and there's some really gross basic ones, but they work. I don't advise using them other than a training tool. Tongue on the roof of the mouth, don't need it anymore. Tuck your tailbone under, microcosmic orbit, don't need that. Breath, if you do a fast out breath, it will have a similar effect to rooting. If you can't root, bang, that'll work. So just do a fast out breath and a hit. So it's not sort of here, it's more bang, fast draw. And visualising colours and I've got my players, but they're far too advanced for this. He said, stroking his ego, but that's another story. Right, so what we need to do now is look at the hip. So if we put that down, again, your two types of kinesiology that I look, or three actually. You got this one, and then you do something and it goes weak, or it stays the same, or it goes stronger. Then you've got centre lock, which convinces the skeptics, because they're going to be squealing on the floor, and Steve's very resistant, but if I go into a fire stance, I'll be very user-friendly, because that's incredibly painful with no mechanics, and people very, in my estimation, good instructors like Master Robert Banks could not move Steve doing that centre lock without mechanics, and he's very good at mechanics, so when he did it worked a treat, but he could not overcome the resistance that Steve's got. So that shows that stance, once it kicks in, works a treat, but it's still a gross player because you got to do stuff before you do stuff. You should just do stuff. So if we do that one again, this is resistant, and I just go, yeah. So your intent does everything. So there is no stance. Stance is an aerial. You can do it with intent. Oh, what tangents we're on now? Oh yeah, we're talking about kinesiology. So you got that one, centre lock, and then the abdominals. So this is good for skeptics, so you tighten them up, tighten them. If you can disrupt that, however, whatever, so we can use that sound again. Zzz, he's going to cough a bit because it goes in. Yep. So it's just nervous system. Muscle, nervous system. So you get into weaken the nervous system via organ disruption, meridian disruption, nervous system disruption. And your basic one is pulling that back. So you can try that on your normal bloke. Not Steve, because he's resistant to it. Yeah. So that, all you need to do is that. So you can do this. Or if you want to do reverse, it's like this, you pull this back. You don't need to move that one now. That can be left out defensively and you can do this. So you can be using what they call the fence, the guard, the talking hands, whichever people named it. You got this going on. You don't need a stance. You go, ooh, and you don't need to pull it right back. That's enough to get the disruption, and then when you hit, they're going to go out your way, so you can leg it or do whatever. Impress the girls. What we got left? Directional energy. We've looked at if you charged up and you move. Is that it really? That's about it. Is that it? Are we done? Think out that task. Near double hip and right. More disruption. Right. So if this is strong, make it straight, Steve. So yeah, That's strong. I don't know if this is going to work on Steve, but it might do because I've got more energy. So if you fire that hip, Jack, yes he does. He's got a lot of work to do. We used to be like that, but I've gone like that. I'm quite happy about it because I know how to teach him to get better, but if I do it too soon, I won't be able to do any videos because it'll just it don't work. And obviously, there's loads of people out there with natural energies, street fighters that kicking out energy from the reptilian brain like an evil. Anyway, that's a tangent. Double hip, doof, doof, more disruption. So the hip will be more energetic than it is mechanic. Because what I've found, I like to do this. Elbow, when you look at the elbow. I like to do this, you go, and you pull it, but you don't have to pick him up or he goes over the pool table or out the fire doors. You can leave him stuck where you leg it. So fast hit, fast punch and pull. And if that wasn't there, he's going to go straight down rather than disrupt somebody's table full of drinks. So that's hip and stuff. So if you fire this hip and then hit, you've stopped moving. So it's not stance, it's not mechanics, it's not momentum. That heel's off the floor, if you can see it, I don't know. So your stance is rubbish. But if you root, Steve, make yourself as heavy as possible, and I go. Newton's third law, where do you go? I shouldn't be able to do that with no stance. So if I do it now, so if you root, I'm not going to root, I'm going to adopt the stance like I've already fired the hip. And if I try not to do anything other than that, Newton comes into play and we get the recoil. A real one. Large intestine meridian. If you want to disrupt somebody's energy, you use that. So I'm thinking this might work on Steve. So give us a hand on Steve. So if you move this shoulder, then this goes weak. What you're doing here is triggering large intestine meridian by this movement. That gives you an energy field, and if it's stronger, or he hasn't got it, he'll be as weak. So it'll go in. You disrupt him, and there's all kinds of tangent, quiet. So that's why some of these wave motions work, because you're triggering this large intestine. So what you can do is, and this will probably work without doing the 6 element stuff or anything else, it'll probably work. That will work as a disruption, so you can do a test, and that will work. But what you're doing is doing stuff before you're doing stuff. But it's good to test. So now, what I can do is, if this is strong, I'll trigger this meridian and Steve goes weak. So I don't need to do movement. But you're still doing stuff to do stuff. So if Steve puts his hand out like that, then it's weak. So I didn't do any stuff before I did stuff. And you were getting ready to be it's too late. So that's how it all works. Problem is, a lot of people can't take that on board. And a lot of them will think that Steve's an actor and I'm making it all up. And it doesn't work on me. It don't work on me. Well, some of it won't. But some of it will. I've had lots of people saying, oh yeah, that don't work. Oh, alright, I'll come up. Because there's lots of ways to skin a cat, or whatever it is. Is it skin a cat? Wrestle a fish. That's it. Oh, we'll stick with that one. Thank you very much. Right then.